Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today we're going to be working on 3 of my micro bonsai forests. I'm always complaining about not having enough room in my plant room to fit all my trees. Well, these little micro forests don't take up much space at all. A forest this size can fit in the palm of your hand. In fact, all 3 of these forests take up about the same room as a medium-sized bonsai. These 3 plantings were started just a year ago, and they're planted in 3D printed bonsai pots. Today I'll be working on my 3 micro bonsai forests here in the bonsai zone. Today's work will start with my pink pixie Bougainvillea forest. These trees were started from cuttings and planted just about a year ago. I'll show you a clip of the planting of these cuttings. There. The second tree, I think we'll put it towards the back here in the pot better so they don't fall over. You're still going to see the perlite until the moss grows in, but it's far from being done, this planting. There's a shot of my miniature Bougainvillea bonsai forest. It's hard to imagine what it'll look like someday with leaves and branches and moss. I think it'll look quite nice someday in the future. I'll start today's work by pruning back some of the longer shoots, and I'll use directional pruning. I think I'll take it off right here, like that. There's a long shoot back here that needs trimming. I think I'll take it off here, like that. There's a shoot at the back here that's getting quite long. I'll trim that back also to there. That's taking care of all the shoots that were growing quite long and vigorous. Kind of balanced out the canopy of the trees. Next, I've got a little cleanup work. I want to get rid of some of the leaves that are in the shade and kind of aren't necessary. They're not growing in the sun. So there's one way back here that's shaded out by a branch above. I'll just take that leaf off. There's one growing out of a little branch on the trunk here that I'm going to get rid of this shoot entirely. I don't want one sticking straight out towards the viewer. So that's gone. There's a leaf growing back in towards the other tree here that I'm going to remove. They kind of almost crisscross. Another one in here I can get rid of. So I'm just selecting leaves that, you know, aren't in a good place to get sunlight and kind of interfere with the growth of the tree beside it. There's an old leaf back here I can remove. That one there. There's a leaf in here that's crossing in front of this trunk. I'll get rid of that. Another one here I can get rid of. There's a few more leaves in here. There's one being shaded out here that I can get rid of. Another one in here. There's one low down way back here that can be removed. I think this one can be removed also. Like that. There's one here that's interfering with the tree beside it. I'll get rid of that. We want light to get in to all these branches in here. We don't want them shaded out by old large leaves. There's a really large leaf back here I can remove. Keep our smaller leaves. There we go. Another one here I can remove. I'm looking above now, just making sure all the branches have light. There's an old leaf here I can remove. I didn't have to take a lot off the forest today, just some cleanup work. And that'll keep it growing nice and healthy for the next few months. I'm always looking at these small bonsais or bonsai forests, and I'm looking for clues that give away the illusion of size. You know, what makes this look small versus a larger tree? Leaf size is definitely one factor, but these leaves aren't huge for a bougainvillea, so they're not too bad. I don't have a lot of branching. I've kind of got my trunks and primary branches here, but there's no kind of secondary or tertiary branching. But that'll come in the future as I develop the crowns of these trees and the branch structure. Definitely my soil. I have a large pebble size in here. That gives away the size of this tree. You can tell that they're small because of the soil surface. You know, the giant rocks in here. So if I were to put a layer of sand or completely cover it with moss, that would fix that illusion. It would look more miniature. My pot, I think, looks quite good. It's a miniaturized pot, 3D printed. Yeah, I think that looks in scale with a bonsai forest. So, yeah, so I'm always looking at my trees, looking for clues that give away their actual size. I want them so if you photograph them, you can't really tell if they're large trees or small trees. They just look nice and miniature. I've never had any thorns on my pink pixie bougainvillea bonsais, which is a nice feature of these as a bonsai. The next small forest I'll be working on is my Chinese elm forest. In the last video of this forest, I had placed a lot of rocks around the trunks of the trees to get them to grow more upright. They were starting to get kind of tall and flopping over in the pots. So hopefully the roots have grown into the soil now and stabilized the trees. Today I'll be pruning back some of the longer shoots and working on getting more of a tree form out of these little cuttings. So I'll start. There's some long shoots here. I'm going to prune them back to the first set of leaves, like that. And here. And here. Right here. Here. Now there's a long trunk kind of leaning out the front, and I probably don't really need it, but I will try and get it to grow more upright, so I'll prune it right back. Quite hard to hear. So here I go. Off. So one of these other shoots will take off more vertical, and we'll get, you know, a more of an upright style tree. There is one more branch to prune here, right here. And the pruning of the forest is done. I will try and root these tiny elm cuttings. They can make a fantastic little miniature tree. I'm just standing out front now, having a look at the arrangement of the trees, and they're a bit kind of jumbled looking. So I'll try and adjust them with the rocks, so I'll try and straighten this one out. Like that. That's better. I'll try and move this one a little more upright also. Let's see what that looks like. That's a little better, but I think I'll probably have to rearrange them once they've grown a bit and I go to repot them. The last forest I'll be working on today is my Serissa forest. It's probably needs the most work out of the ones I've done. This forest needs trimming back. The shoots have grown very long. The moss has grown very long. It's starting to obscure the ancient ruins back here. So it just needs a general tidy up. I'll start the work in this forest by pruning all these long shoots back to size. And again, it's better to prune a little high and then slowly bring the height down as you look at the front view and adjust the heights of the different trees. So it's better to prune a little high at first, and then you can always take them down. If you prune them too short, well, you have to wait for them to grow back in height. So I'll take this one off here. So here I go. And here. And here. And here. There's a little tree up the side here. I'll take the tops off of that. I've got some shoots out the back here that I'll remove. Some out the front here. Oops. Get out of there. Here. Again, I'm probably pruning a little high here, but so that's got a lot of the new shoots pruned back now. I will come in front now and have a look at the arrangement. I went out front and had a look, and it's a little hard to see what's going on here with this long moss. So I think I'll need to trim that back first, and then I'll look at the trees and try and decide what needs more pruning. To prune the moss, I'll come in with my little curved surgical scissors. I don't want to prune this moss so trim that it looks like a mowed lawn. So I'll leave parts of it wild to look like the jungle. But I think I've got to clear it around the base of my trees. Last time I left it quite long around the base of the trees, and you know, it looks kind of jungly with the moss growing up it, but I think it's more important to see the actual trunks of the trees. And you know, as the canopy develops, you would get less light underneath the tree, so moss probably wouldn't grow so well in the shade there. I definitely have to prune the moss away from the lip of the pot here. And I've got a, this is a 3D printed pot, and it's just printed with PLA plastic, and it sagged quite a bit. I had it in the greenhouse in the summer, and I guess the high heat made it sag. So the pot I had outside on the bench did fine. It didn't droop or anything, but definitely the heat will make them deform. I'll probably print another pot for this one, and I don't like the color I painted it either. I don't like that blue color. There'll be some changes coming for this in the future. In this back corner here, there's a lot of debris that's fallen down. There's a lot of leaves that have fallen off, and the moss has gotten really, really thick, so I'll definitely have to prune that back. Find out where the trunks of the trees are. I've been working on removing this moss from the trunks of the trees back here. And I'm just pulling it off. I've got most of the forest cleaned up now. You can see all the moss I had to take off, and leaves and debris. So it was good to get it all cleaned up. I'm out front now looking at the composition of the forest to determine what needs further pruning. I think this branch right here needs pruning. This one could be pruned back further. This one's a little long. So is this one. This one could be pruned back further. This one back here could be shortened. This one too. This one. This one. That one. I'm just working away, shortening some of these branches. You know, looking for leaves that are further down that I can prune back to. It's important to keep this forest nice and compact. Otherwise it quickly grows way too large. The little Serissa forest is all pruned up and ready to grow again. I really like growing these small forests. They're only a year old from cuttings, and they already look quite nice. They're really good. They don't take up much space, and because they're so small, you have to do a fair amount of maintenance on them. You're always pruning the moss and trimming the leaves and the branches because they grow quickly out of shape. So they're ideal for a person who has a small amount of space and can devote some time to their trees. It's time now for today's update. Today's update is my Ficus microcarpa ginseng. It's planted in a Vietnam-style 3D printed pot, and it has a 3D printed person standing beside the tree. I had this tree in the KW Bonsai Society's fall show this year, just to show off the style of the pot and the overall look of the planting. The tree is quite tall for this Vietnam-style planting. The canopy probably should be somewhere down here, not way up here. So today I'm going to give it quite a hard pruning. Today I'll be doing a profile pruning to the top of the canopy, and then the tree should react by growing all kinds of new branches from the remaining trunks. And then later on, I'll go in and pick which branches I want to keep and which ones I want to remove. I'll come out in front of the tree and pick a height that I want to prune the canopy back to. So I want it fairly short, so all the new branches come in, hopefully down below on these trunks here. Get some side branching, so I can keep the overall height of the tree quite small. So I'm thinking somewhere about there. That's kind of where I want the canopy, so a little bit lower. I'll use my bypass pruners, and I'll come in about here. So here I go. So that's got the height of the tree down now. There's a few branches back here I'll have to prune back, like that. Here's a view of the tree from the front now. So I've got the height right. Now I've got to go in the top view and kind of prune out any long shoots that are sticking out to the sides. So this branch is sticking out too far, so I'm going to prune it back to here. This branch could come back a little shorter to here. I've got a branch I can take a bit off here and one here. I'm going to take this down just a little more, and I think that will do. There's an overall shot of the tree now. It's looking very small and compact, so hopefully all kinds of new branches will grow in and we'll get a nicer and denser canopy. I did a lot of root carving on this tree when I planted it in this pot, and they're healing really nicely. They're looking good. So happy with that. It's time now for today's viewers' picks. Flavius has sent in a picture of his aloe bonsai. Really nice style and shape to this tree. Has a lot of potential for the future. Jason sent in a picture of his root rake spoon combination. A really good tool for bonsai. Michael has sent in some pictures of his 3D printed pots that he made. They look really good. Blake has sent in some pictures of his begonias and some of his other interesting plants. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.